So with me now is Greg Bluestein. He's a political reporter for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. And so, Greg, I guess we're trying to understand, where are we in this process, and are we overcovering this? Meaning, are we leading people to believe that is as likely he drops below the runoff threshold as it is that he stays where he is, or are we on a 5% chance type of trajectory?
Yeah, I'd go with the latter. I mean, Stacey Abrams has a really tall hill to climb to get there. She needs to net about 18,000 votes, 17,700 or so votes in order to force this runoff. And the Kemp campaign has consistently said there's not enough votes outstanding still out there. The biggest wild card really here is the court cases. If federal judges allow counties to count ballots that have already been rejected, that are sort of out of that trove, there is a chance for her maybe to make up some of that ground. And last night we did have a ruling that will affect at least maybe 1,000 or so ballots. But of course, they all aren't necessarily going to go to her. And that's why, tomorrow's the earliest time the state can certify the votes. And that's why Brian Kemp's people are pretty optimistic that the state will certify the votes and that he'll end up becoming the declared winner of this election.
Greg, walk me through what kind of recount options Stacey Abrams would have, because obviously, look, Florida is simple. There's no runoffs. It's about the margin, and the margin less than 0.25. They end up, less than 0.25%. They go to hand recount. What is the rules when it comes to this runoff threshold, and what is the margin threshold where Stacey Abrams could get a state-mandated recount?
Yeah, great question. I mentioned 17,700 or so votes is the net she needs to get to force a runoff, but it's about 15,000 or so votes she needs the net to trigger a recount, to let her ask for a recount.
Could she pay for one on her own?
She's still ways off from there, too.
Could she pay for that on her own? Is she, there's some states allow for some people to pay for they can pay for the recount, say if it's just outside the threshold and they want to have it done. Does she have that option?
No, in Georgia, if the race is within a 1% or so margin, the state will pay for a recount. That's really the only option she has for the recount. But she's also looking at legal action. She's already filed several lawsuits, and so have Democratic allies of hers. And they've raised the specter that there could be even more lawsuits. They talk about widespread voting irregularities and other issues. So even if the race is certified tomorrow, that does not foreclose her from filing more litigation.
But by certifying, I mean, I went through this, I'm going back to my 2000 years. That certification's a big deal as far as the courts are concerned, right? The state has spoken when the certification comes, correct?
Yeah, it is a big deal. And even when the county certified earlier this week, it took a federal court order to get them sort of to uncertify the counties briefly so that they can count some more of these ballots. And this order that came the other day involved absentee ballots where voters had the wrong birth dates. And it involves about maybe 1,000 or so of these votes, but counties that had already certified had to decertify, go back in, make those changes, and then recertify by tomorrow. So you can see how kind of crazy it's getting with these county election officials and these rulings scrambling everything.
Who could say, you know what, we'll postpone certification for a week? Who has the power to do that, or does anybody in the state have that power?
Federal courts are is really where that rests, because right now the deadline to certify is the last chance Georgia has to certify is now next week on Tuesday, and the earliest it can do so is Friday at 5 p.m. But if a federal judge comes in and says, well, now I want counties to take even more time, the certification deadline, it won't be till end of next week. Not only will that delay everything, but also Georgia has a pair of runoffs already for other down-ticket races scheduled for December 4th. For Secretary of State and Public Service Commissioner. Those schedules could be, that December 4th runoff could also be delayed if that happens. Wow.
Those poor candidates down the ballot in runoffs, not knowing, is 5 people going to show up or 5 million people going to show up anyway? Greg Bluestein, what a story you're covering there. Well, I'm sure we'll be checking back in. Thanks for your sharing your expertise and your reporting. Much appreciated.
Thanks for having me.
Hello, YouTubers. If you're watching this, it means you've checked out our channel, so thank you. Now do me a favor, subscribe by clicking on that button down there. Click on any of the videos to watch the latest interviews and highlights from MTP Daily and MSNBC. You can get more Beat the Press content every morning in the First Read newsletter. If you're tired of content that you don't know anything about where it came from, you don't have to have that problem with us. NBC News, MSNBC, MTP and the Meet the Press mindset right here for you on YouTube. Subscribe now.